There are moments in life when you feel cut off. Friends fade away, opportunities dry up, the world seems silent, and you ask, why am I alone? Why has God removed me from everyone and everything I knew? Listen carefully, this is not punishment. This is preparation. When God isolates you, He's not abandoning you, He's aligning you. He pulls you away from the noise because He knows you can't hear destiny in a crowd. You can only hear it in stillness. The whisper of guidance, the spark of vision, the awakening of strength, they are born in solitude. Think about it. Every great transformation starts in isolation. A seed grows underground before it breaks the soil. A diamond forms under pressure, unseen, before it shines in the open. And you are in that same process, hidden, refined, and strengthened. When you hear the word isolation, it often carries a negative weight. It feels like being cut off, left behind, or pushed away. But what if isolation is not rejection at all, but redirection? What if the very season that feels lonely is the foundation of your future strength? Isolation is preparation, and preparation is never wasted. Imagine a seed planted deep in the soil. It spends weeks, even months, in darkness. No one applauds it. No one sees its progress. Yet, beneath the surface, roots are digging deep, building strength to support the stem that will one day break through the earth. Without that hidden time, the seed could never grow strong enough to survive above ground. That's exactly what happens when God isolates you. He's planting you. He's letting your roots grow deep so when the light comes, you don't just survive, you thrive. Many people misunderstand isolation. They think silence means abandonment, but silence is where the most important work takes place. Think of an athlete training behind the scenes. The medals, the trophies, the applause, all of that is only possible because of the grueling hours alone, sweating in an empty gym, pushing against resistance. What the crowd sees later is simply the fruit of what was built in the hidden season. The same is true with you. God uses isolation to prepare you for what's ahead. He removes distractions, cuts away noise, and places you in an environment where the only voices you hear are your own and His. It is in that stillness you begin to discover clarity. You see, the world rewards action, but God values preparation. The crowd claps for performance, but God builds character in private. Isolation is where that character is forged. It's also the space where identity is refined. When you're surrounded by people, it's easy to adopt their expectations, their values, even their doubts. But when you're alone, you're forced to face the truth about yourself. Who am I without the applause? Who am I without the opinions of others? Who am I when the world is quiet? Those questions are uncomfortable, but they are essential, because the answer defines your foundation. And only someone who knows who they are can stand firm when the storms of life arrive. Isolation teaches resilience. It strengthens your mind and builds endurance in your spirit. Think about those moments when you felt you couldn't go on, yet you did. Where did that strength come from? It came from being forced to dig deep in a season where no one else could carry you. That kind of power cannot be handed to you. It must be developed, and development requires solitude. That's why isolation is never a punishment. It is training ground, and here's the most powerful truth. Every season of isolation has a purpose. God doesn't waste seasons. Just like He doesn't waste pain, He doesn't waste silence. You might not see it now, but the lessons you're learning in solitude are equipping you for a future stage. They're shaping you into someone who can carry influence with humility, someone who can lead with compassion, someone who can stand firm under pressure. Without this hidden preparation, the weight of your destiny would crush you. With it, you'll be ready not only to rise, but to stay standing when you do. So the next time you feel isolated, shift your perspective. Don't see it as abandonment, see it as alignment. Don't call it rejection, call it preparation. Trust that the same God who planted the seed in darkness has already written the moment it will break through the soil. Your hidden season is not the end of your story. It is the beginning of the strength you'll need to live it fully. Silence is one of the most misunderstood forces in life. Most people run from it. They fear quiet moments because silence exposes what is hidden inside. But what if silence is not something to escape from, but something to embrace? Silence reveals clarity. When the noise of the world fades away, when the chatter of other people's voices no longer surrounds you, you begin to hear something deeper, the truth within yourself and the gentle whispers of God guiding your path. In our daily lives, we are bombarded with distractions: social media, opinions, constant activity, endless noise. All of it competes for our attention, and in that chaos, it becomes almost impossible to distinguish what truly matters. You can't hear your calling when you're drowning in the voices of others. That's why God often pulls you into silence. It is not to punish you, it is to help you hear again. Think about the times you've had your greatest insights. They rarely come in the middle of chaos. They come when you're walking alone, when you're sitting in quiet reflection, when you've stepped away from the demands of the world. In silence, distractions fade. The fog lifts. Suddenly, what once felt confusing begins to make sense. The decisions you've been wrestling with, the questions that have kept you awake at night, the uncertainty that has clouded your vision. Clarity is born in the stillness. That's why silence is powerful. It gives your heart a chance to speak, and it allows God's guidance to come through without interference. Silence also reveals truth about relationships and environments. When you step back from the constant noise of people's voices, you begin to see who is truly for you and who is not. You start to recognize which environments drain you and which ones feed your spirit. You begin to understand that not every voice deserves access to your life. Some voices pull you away from purpose, others push you toward it. Silence gives you the perspective to tell the difference. Without it, you can get lost in the noise and follow paths that were never meant for you. More importantly, silence creates space for self-discovery. It's in those quiet moments you begin to ask the right questions. Who am I, really? What do I value most? What is the life I want to create? The world doesn't give you time to ask these questions because the world profits off your distraction. But in silence, those answers rise to the surface, and with clarity comes power. Because once you know what matters most, your decisions align, your energy focuses, and your steps carry purpose. That is why silence should never be feared. It should be welcomed, because silence is not emptiness, it is alignment. Strength is forged in stillness. Just as a muscle grows when it is placed under resistance, your spirit grows when it faces the weight of solitude. People often believe that strength is built in the moments of action, in the times when you're performing, delivering, or showing up for others. But the truth is, strength is cultivated in the quiet moments when no one is watching. It is in stillness that you learn to rely on your inner resources. It is in stillness that you face yourself honestly, without the mask you wear for others. And it is in stillness that resilience is built, the kind of resilience that will carry you through challenges when the pressure is at its highest. When you are forced to be still, you often feel restless. You want to move to change things to make something happen, but in that resistance, growth is happening. Think of a tree standing tall through a storm. Its roots hold strong, not because the weather is calm, but because it has endured the stillness of many seasons. It has learned to grow deep underground before reaching high into the sky. In the same way, when you experience a season of stillness, your roots are being strengthened. You may not see visible progress, but underground, unseen, you are becoming unshakable. Stillness also teaches patience. We live in a world that glorifies speed and constant motion, but real transformation doesn't happen in a rush. It happens in stillness. It happens when you learn to sit with discomfort instead of running from it, when you choose to trust the process instead of forcing results. That patience builds endurance, and endurance builds strength. Without stillness, you remain fragile, easily broken by setbacks. With stillness, you become steady, anchored, and able to weather any storm. Finally, stillness connects you with a deeper power. In stillness, you realize you are not carrying life on your own shoulders. You feel God's presence, His guidance, His strength flowing into you, and with that realization, you become fearless. You understand that no matter what challenges arise, you already have what it takes to overcome them. That is the gift of stillness. It forges a strength that is unshakable, a strength not built on circumstances, but on faith, resilience, and inner power. Aloneness builds identity in a way nothing else can. When you are surrounded by people, it is easy to get lost in the expectations of others. Their opinions, their judgments, and even their encouragements can start to shape the way you see yourself. Without realizing it, you begin to define who you are based on how others perceive you. But when you step into a season of aloneness, all those outside voices are stripped away, and you are left with the most important question of your life. Who am I really? It is in that silence, in that solitude, that you begin to uncover the truth of your identity. Alone, you are forced to confront your own thoughts, your own fears, and your own dreams. Alone, you begin to realize what matters most to you, not just what has been handed to you by culture, friends, or family. Alone, you discover your values, your standards, and your mission. This season of aloneness can feel uncomfortable because it removes the safety net of external validation. When no one is clapping for you, when no one is telling you who to be, you must decide for yourself. That decision is the foundation of identity. True confidence is not born from applause. It is born from knowing yourself deeply and standing firm in that truth. Aloneness gives you the chance to do that. It teaches you to stop chasing the approval of others and start living from the inside out. When you no longer need others to define you, you become unstoppable. You know who you are, you know what you stand for, and you know the direction you're heading. That kind of identity can only be forged in the fire of solitude. When you learn to embrace aloneness, you also learn independence of spirit. This doesn't mean you reject people. It means you stop depending on them to validate your existence. You realize that your worth is not tied to someone else's acceptance. You begin to walk in a sense of freedom, a freedom that says, even if I walk this path alone, I will not compromise who I am. And that is the power of aloneness. It frees you to be the truest version of yourself. Separation unlocks transformation. There is a reason why every major breakthrough in life is preceded by some kind of separation. Before something new can be built, something old must be left behind. Sometimes God removes people, opportunities, or environments from your life, not because He wants to hurt you, but because He knows you cannot carry those things into your next season. Separation is not always comfortable, but it is always necessary. Think of a caterpillar entering a cocoon. At first, it looks like the end. The caterpillar disappears from view, isolated and hidden away, but inside that cocoon, a transformation is taking place. The creature that went in is not the same one that will come out. In the same way, when you experience separation, it may feel like loss, but it is really preparation for transformation. Transformation demands letting go. You cannot step into the future while still holding onto the past. The habits, relationships, and mindsets that defined your old self cannot carry you into the new version of you that is being formed. Separation cuts away the dead weight, the distractions, the attachments that no longer serve your purpose. It is a refining fire that strips you down, not to destroy you, but to rebuild you stronger, wiser, and more capable. Without separation, you would never rise. With it, you are positioned for growth. And here's the truth. Separation often feels lonely, but it is never wasted. That distance creates space for reflection, healing, and renewal. It allows you to rebuild your inner foundation, to examine where you've been, and to prepare for where you're going. Transformation is not instant. It is a process, and that process cannot happen when you are surrounded by constant noise and old patterns. It requires separation. Isolation precedes impact. If you study the lives of great leaders, visionaries, and world changers, you will find a common theme. Before they stepped into their calling, they went through a season of isolation. Hidden seasons are part of the journey. They are where you develop the strength, wisdom, and vision necessary for impact. You cannot influence the world until you first conquer yourself. And conquering yourself happens in private, not in public. That is why God often takes you through an isolated season before releasing you into influence. It is in that hidden place that you learn discipline. You learn how to be consistent when no one is watching. You learn how to stay faithful even when there is no applause. You learn how to keep pushing forward even when it feels like nothing is working. That consistency becomes the backbone of your impact. Because when you finally step onto the stage of your purpose, you carry with you the strength you built in the shadows. Isolation also protects you. Sometimes you are not ready for the weight of influence, and if you were thrown into it too soon, it would crush you. The hidden season allows you to grow at the pace you need. It gives you time to prepare so that when the moment comes, you are not only ready to rise but ready to stay. Impact is not just about reaching success, it's about sustaining it. And sustainability is only possible when your roots have been built deep in the soil of solitude. So when you feel hidden, when you feel like no one sees your effort, when it feels like you've been set aside, remember this: isolation is the training ground for your future influence. The world may not see you now, but God sees you. And when the time is right, what was once hidden will be revealed, and your impact will be undeniable. Every person who is called to rise must first be willing to separate from what once defined them. It is in those moments of distance, those seasons where it feels like everything familiar is being stripped away, that you are actually being positioned for transformation. But here is the key truth: before you can truly elevate, you must first be set apart. That separation is uncomfortable. It might even feel unfair. You may lose relationships, environments, or opportunities that once felt essential to your life. Yet those very losses are the making of you. Because separation is not subtraction, it is refinement. It is the process of God pulling you away from what can no longer go with you, so that you can step into the higher version of yourself. Think about how gold is refined. It has to be separated from the impurities that surround it. That process requires intense heat, but it is the only way to reveal its true value. Your life works the same way. Without separation, you remain mixed with what limits you. With separation, your true self, your true purpose, and your true potential are revealed. It is not easy to let go, but growth never comes without release. The reason God removes certain people, habits, or environments is because they cannot serve the person you are becoming. If you held on to them, you would stay the same, but you were not created to stay the same. You were created to grow, to rise, to transform, and for that to happen, separation is necessary. Often in the moment, it feels like you are being left behind. You see others moving forward while you sit in solitude, and you wonder why. But separation is not about falling behind. It is about being prepared for something greater. In the hidden space where no one is watching, God is shaping you, testing you, and molding you. Transformation does not happen in the spotlight. It happens in the shadows, where you are forced to face yourself, where you are taught discipline, patience, and strength. By the time you step into the light, you will not be the same person who walked into the season of separation. You will be stronger, wiser, and equipped for the level of responsibility that comes with your next chapter. Separation also demands trust. You must believe that even when you cannot see the reason, there is a purpose behind the process. You must trust that what feels like loss is actually protection. You must trust that what feels like delay is actually preparation. This trust is what keeps you steady when your heart feels weak. It reminds you that you are not being abandoned, you are being positioned. And when the time is right, the very thing that felt like a setback will reveal itself as the foundation of your transformation. So if you find yourself in a season where you feel cut off, don't despair. See it for what it is. See it as the refining fire that is preparing you for your future. See it as the cocoon that is shaping you into something far greater than you are today, because transformation does not begin in comfort. It begins in separation. And when that process is complete, you will emerge stronger, freer, and more prepared than ever to step into the destiny that is waiting for you. Before elevation comes separation, and before transformation comes testing. That is why so often in life, The greatest breakthroughs are preceded by the greatest losses. Separation unlocks transformation. It is not until something is stripped away that the truth of who you are can begin to emerge. Separation feels painful because it confronts your attachments. You grow used to certain people, habits, and environments, and they begin to feel like a part of you. But in reality, many of them are weights holding you down. To rise, you cannot carry everything with you. Some relationships that once fit your life will not fit your future. Some habits that once gave you comfort will keep you from growth. Some mindsets that once protected you will now limit you. And so, separation comes, not to break you, but to free you. It is in separation that your vision clears. While you are entangled in what is familiar, you cannot see beyond it. You assume that your present reality is all there is. But when God removes what you once depended on, your eyes open to new possibilities. It is like pruning a tree. At first, it looks harsh. Branches are cut, leaves fall away, and the tree looks smaller than before. But only through pruning can the tree grow stronger, fuller, and more fruitful. Your life is no different. When separation comes, you may feel diminished for a time, but the pruning is only making room for greater growth. Transformation does not come through comfort. It comes through challenge, and separation is one of the greatest challenges you will face. It forces you to confront who you are without the things that once defined you. It strips away the false identities you wore to fit in. It reveals the raw, unshaped version of yourself that is ready to be molded into something greater. This is the place where God does His deepest work. He breaks you free from what you thought you needed so that you can discover what you truly carry. And here's the truth: transformation cannot happen in crowds. The voices of others can drown out the whisper of destiny. That is why God often pulls you into a season of separation. Alone, you can hear what you were too distracted to notice before. Alone, you begin to discover strengths you never knew you had. Alone, you find the courage to step into new levels of growth. It may feel like isolation, but it is divine alignment. It may feel like loss, but it is actually the preparation for gain. When you look back on your life, you will see that every major shift required some kind of separation. You had to walk away from something to step into something else. You had to release the old in order to receive the new. You had to close one chapter before the next could be written. This is the rhythm of transformation, separation, refinement, renewal, and then elevation. So, when separation comes, do not cling to what is leaving. Trust that it is leaving because it no longer serves your growth. Trust that transformation is already at work within you, shaping you into the person you need to become for the future you are destined to carry. Do not fear the pruning. Do not resist the distance. Embrace the process, because separation is never the end. It is the doorway, and behind that doorway is transformation so profound that you will barely recognize yourself. The old will be gone, and the new will rise. What felt like loss will prove to be gain, and what once seemed like the end will reveal itself as the true beginning of your next level. Impact is never born in the spotlight. It is not created in the moments where the world is watching, applauding, or celebrating you. True impact is forged in the hidden places, in the seasons where no one sees your effort, no one acknowledges your growth, and no one understands your journey. Isolation precedes impact. Before God positions you to influence others, He pulls you aside to prepare you. The weight of impact is heavy, and if you are not ready to carry it, it can break you. That is why He isolates you, to build within you the character, discipline, and strength that will sustain you when influence arrives. It can feel like being forgotten. You look around and see others moving ahead, receiving recognition, while you remain unseen. You begin to wonder if your effort matters, if your prayers are heard, if your dreams will ever come alive. But what you cannot see is that this season of isolation is not wasted time. It is divine investment. Just as a seed must spend time buried before it can break through the soil, you must spend time in obscurity before your influence can emerge. In that hidden place, your roots grow deep. You develop resilience, patience, and faith. Without this unseen season, your foundation would be too weak to sustain your future. Isolation is where discipline is forged. It is easy to perform when people are watching, but consistency in silence is what shapes real strength. When you choose to keep showing up even when there is no applause, when you choose to keep building even when no one notices, when you choose to stay faithful even when it feels like nothing is changing, that is when you are being prepared for impact. The private victories you win in isolation are the very victories that will empower your public influence. This hidden season also protects you. Influence without preparation can destroy a person. Without the strength of character built in solitude, the pressures of leadership, visibility, and responsibility would be overwhelming. Isolation allows you to grow at a pace that is safe, a pace that ensures when the door of opportunity opens, you are ready not only to enter but also to remain. Success can come quickly, but lasting impact is sustained by the depth you built when no one was watching. Another truth about isolation is that it strips away dependency. When you are alone, you learn that your strength does not come from the validation of others, but from within, from your faith, and from the presence of God. This inner reliance makes you unshakable. When the time comes for you to step into influence, you will not be swayed by applause or criticism. You will know who you are, you will know your mission, and you will move forward with clarity and confidence. That is why isolation is essential. It shapes leaders who are anchored, not driven by external approval. And then, when the time is right, the season of hiddenness ends. Suddenly, opportunities appear. Doors open, your voice carries weight. People begin to notice the strength, wisdom, and vision you carry, but none of it is new. It was all cultivated in the quiet seasons of isolation. The world may see you as an overnight success, but you will know the truth. Your impact is not the product of luck. It is the product of years of hidden preparation. So when you find yourself in isolation, don't resent it, don't resist it, embrace it as the birthplace of your future influence. Understand that every moment of silence, every hidden struggle, every unseen victory is preparing you for the stage you are meant to stand on. Isolation is not the end of your story, it is the foundation of it. And when you emerge, you will not only step into your calling, you will have the strength, clarity, and resilience to create an impact that lasts.